CJoy of CJoy Yoga, and my friend Eunice is going to be helping us out with this. This is our traveler's sequence. Some of the moves will be best done on the ground, but I'm also going to give some modifications. So if you kind of get some of this stuff in your head when you're at the airport, there's a decent amount you can do sitting at a chair at a hotel, at an airport, or wherever it is that you are. Some even in your car, potentially. So to start, I'm in a chair. I'm going to have my heels right underneath my knees out from my hips, my hands on my thighs, palms up or palms down, right? You can do this in the airport. It's okay. Walk away from the back of the chair. I'm sitting on the edge. Or you can be sitting down on the ground and having cross-legged or kneeling, whatever's comfortable. We're going to close the eyes for just a couple of moments here and just start to drop into our body. And start to scan through the body and find out where it is that you might be holding tension. You know, I often talk about the efficiency of energy that we learn with yoga. There are some muscles that definitely need to work to keep me up, right? Hold me up. But there are a lot of muscles that I'm probably contracting right now that do not need to be contracted. I'm wasting energy, right? So release the jaw, the shoulders, the thighs, all of that stuff. Notice if anything's going on, especially when we're traveling. A lot of times it's the low back, the hips, and even the upper back that take the brunt of that. So check into your body, find out if anything is talking to you. And then bring your awareness to your breath. Let that breath be nice and slow and steady, helping to keep us out of that fight and flight, right? The sympathetic system, nervous system. Simply by calming down the breath, deepening the breath. And maybe you don't deal with that, but when I travel, I tend to get a little uptight. So try to work against that, or work with it maybe. Let's take one more breath together. Take a big old inhale. And exhale, maybe even a little sigh. If it feels nice, just give a little sigh. And then go ahead and open your eyes. So for my friends who have the ability to lay down on the ground or on a mat, you're going to go ahead and you're going to start on your back. For my friends who might not have that ability, I'm still going to show some modifications in the chair for you, okay? So we're going to start by hugging the right knee in towards the chest. And I can do that in a chair, I can do that in an airport, a hotel, a restaurant, anywhere really, right? Bringing the right knee in towards the chest, slide the shoulder blades down the back. For my friends on the ground, remember you're just softening back down towards the earth, yeah? For my friends in the chair, we need to help keep our back upright. And you might circle that right foot a couple of times. And go ahead and go the opposite direction. And put that right foot back down on the ground, and then you're going to go ahead and bring the left knee in. So I'm going to show you the side angle of the chair view, right? My friends on the ground, again, you soften the shoulders down, you soften the hips down, and you hug the left knee in. My friends on the chair, you're going to pull your spine into position by pulling against the shin or behind the thigh of the left leg. Go ahead and take a couple of circles with that left foot. And again, we're targeting the low back right now in the sacrum area. Go ahead and go the opposite direction, so just getting a little bit of length in there. It's not drastic right now. We'll get deeper, don't you worry. And then go ahead and hug that left knee in. And then go ahead and let that come out away from the body. Moving into one of my absolute favorites, windshield wiper. Your feet will walk out wider than the hips, about as wide as your mat. If you're on a mat, your arms will tee out to the sides. You'll take a big old inhale, and with an exhale, the knees will start to swoosh over to the right? And with an inhale, the knees will come up. My friends on the chair, you can just move against the legs and with the back of the chair, right? And heading over to the left, letting the knees swoosh over or grabbing the outer left leg and helping the body twist. And inhale back towards your center, adding on. As I twist my body to the right or the knees fall to the right on those on the ground, your head will turn to the left. So we're letting the head turn in the opposite direction, and I'm demoing the seated version. And coming back to center on your inhale, we're not in a rush. Exhale, heading over to the left, maybe the head turns to the right. And inhale, go ahead and bring that all the way back up. We're gonna hold the next one. So one more time, knees swish over to the right, or the body will turn to the right. The head will turn to the left. And then for my friends on the ground, you may put your right foot on the outer left thigh if that feels comfortable. And you're seeing that variation right down here, right? And for my friends in the chair, right, I push my right leg and left arm together, try that again, to see if my ribs can get just a little more rotation. And you can turn your head to the right on the chair or to the left, whichever feels best in your body. And then go ahead and bring that all the way back to neutral. The right foot will come back down to the earth, a little wider than the hips, and then the knees will head over to the left for my windshield wiper friends, my friends in the chair, starting to turn to the left. Head might turn to the right, so it's a little bit of a counter twist in the body. And then from there, that left foot might come up onto the outer right thigh for my friends on the ground. For my friends in the chair, you might, go ahead and push your left leg and your right arm together to see if the ribs can rotate a little further to the left. Your head can turn to the left or the right for my chair friends. Take one more breath, inhale, and exhale there, soften. Inhale, the knees back up, or turn the body forward, release the left foot down, and thread the needle. And this is one that everybody can do, right? You're gonna put your right ankle bone beyond your left knee bone. So in a chair, I can always let my left foot come away to get that in a little closer, yeah? And then from there, flex the right foot, right thigh moves away. Now you can stay right here, or Miss Eunice is gonna show that you might bring the left leg in, you come through the triangle, and you grab onto the back of the left leg. So I can do that in the chair as well, right? But both versions, you're trying to get a beautiful straight spine. So I can either, from the chair, slide my shoulder blades down my back, pulling against the chair, right, and pushing into that back, or I could interlace behind my left thigh even here. The right thigh continues to move forward. We try to keep the spine as long as possible, and probably feeling that outer right hip right now. And go ahead and take one more breath from there, inhale. And with the exhale, the left foot will come down to the ground for my friends on the ground. My other friends, all friends I guess, the right foot will come down to the ground. And then we'll switch sides. So that left ankle bone will come onto the right knee bone, flexing the left foot, the left thigh moving away from the body. You might work from here. You might bring the legs closer, or drop the body down a little bit for my chair version, grabbing behind the thigh. And again, both versions try to straighten the spine. So this is a pretty good example in the chair. Even if you're on the ground, your spine wants to do what my spine is doing right now, right? So either you're dropping the shoulders down to the ground and trying to lengthen the spinal column as much as you can from the ground, or you're pulling against the thigh to try to straighten the spine if you're seated. Left thigh continues to move away from the left shoulder. The left foot stays flexed for knee protection. Inhale right into that outer left hip. I know you don't have a lung there. I'm a pretty wise gal, but bring your awareness there. And exhale. Go ahead and bring that back down to the ground. For my friends who are on the ground, and we'll all bring our left foot down and meet up here. For my friends on the ground, grab the backs of the knees and roll yourself up. That said, you can always come through the fetal position. That is always an option. Go ahead and come to hands and knees. And I'm gonna have you face that direction, Miss Venus, yeah. Just because the light's a little better. Hands, knees, cat-cow. So on an inhale, shoulder blades down the back, and she's going to reach that chest forward between her hands and start to go into a little bit of an upper back bend there. And on the exhale, go ahead and round the spinal column up towards the sky. Release the head and the neck, and you'll end up looking back towards your thighs. So that's the ground cycle, right? And inhale on your buttocks, sitting in a chair, shoulder blades down the back, the chest reaches up towards the sky. If you're on your hands and knees, it reaches forward. So I'm demoing chair version, yeah? Exhale, pull the belly back or up towards the sky if you're on your hands and knees. Seated, everything moves behind you. We'll do one more of those, everybody. Shoulder blades down the back and the chest reaching between the arms, either forward in front of you or up towards the sky. And exhale, pulling the belly up, rounding the spine up towards the ceiling for hands and knees, and back behind you to the back of the chair for my seated friends. And go ahead and come back to neutral. This is one of my favorites when I travel. You know, you can do this about 20 more times if you want to pause for a second. Otherwise, we're going to move into child's pose. So the knees will go a little wider than the hips. The big toes will come together to touch. Buttocks move towards the heels. And go ahead and come on down, forehead down towards the ground. Now, if this is hard on the knees or the hips, you can lie on your back. You can hug the knees towards the body, crossing the left ankle over the right or the right over the left, right? That would be lying on your back. And in the chair, depending on your situation in the airport, you can still bring the foot up, let the knee go wide, and just hug it from there, one leg at a time, or both if you're feeling okay with that, right? I don't mind drawing attention to myself. I don't think that I'm trying to, but just meaning like, hey, if you're gonna look at me, I'm totally fine with that because my body's opening. Go ahead and take two more breaths. My friends on the chair, bring that right foot down and the left foot can come on up. And again, let the knee go wide and hug the knee towards the left shoulder. And take one more breath. Inhale. Now into that back body, everybody. And exhale, soften. Now, we're moving towards downward facing dog. I'm going to talk my ground friends in first. Pushing into the hands, you'll notice that she's starting to activate the arms. Forward into hands and knees. Bring the knees in, curl the toes under, and start to head back to downward facing dog. And bend the knees initially, pushing the ground forward and down and reaching those buttocks bones up and back, keeping all that beautiful length. Maybe even imagining my hands on your thighs, right at the hip joint, pulling you up and back. And then let those heels just soften down towards the earth. That doesn't mean you have to have straight legs. She has some flexibility in her hamstrings and her low back, so she can. That doesn't mean all of us will, right? The version for my friends who are not on the ground, you're just gonna put your hands against a post or whatever that is you have at the airport, and you'll walk yourself back until your heels are underneath your buttocks and your shoulders are the height of your hips, right? And so I'm in the same shape as Miss Eunice right now, and I'm still getting a beautiful stretch. I'm just not bearing the full weight. So you could also do this version if you just don't want to bear the full weight from your mat. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Reach those thighs back, everybody. Really lengthen, pushing into the floor or the wall. Pushing those heels or softening the heels down to the ground. And one more breath together. Take a big old inhale, fill up those lungs. Exhale, lengthen the whole back side of the body. My friends on the ground, you're gonna walk your hands back to your feet. My friends at the wall, you bend the elbows a little bit and you walk back into the wall. And forward fold. So everybody can do this. And if you're a little embarrassed in an airport, I find putting my buttocks up against a post or a pillar and just starting to fold in with my feet a little forward. If you're on the ground like Miss Eunice, you're gonna go ahead and just fold in. You'll notice she has the knees a little bit bent and she's grabbing onto her elbow points so that the body can drape in and we can start to get this beautiful traction action all through the spinal column, right? And so again, against the wall, I would just bring my heels out a little bit. Same thing. Bend my knees, I grab my elbow points, and I soften in. Let's take 2 more breaths there. Inhale, put the other forearm in front, by the way. And exhale. And one more. Big ol' inhale. And exhale. So both of my variations, we put our hands on our hips, elbows up to the sky. And with an inhale, reach the chest forward and start to bring yourself up to standing. And we made it, we're standing. This is beautiful. Standing in Tadasana. And just take a moment. Again, this one, you can do this one anywhere. Your feet are hip distance, parallel, your toes are forward. And just put a little bit of weight in your heels. We tend to be a pitching forward society. So if you put a little weight in your heels, can the crown of the head reach up? And can you just think of that spinal column without efforting, right? Can that spinal column get a little bit longer? And we'll take 2 breaths here. Inhale. This is the foundation for every standing pose, and we're going to do a couple of them. And last breath. Inhale. And exhale. So we're going to go into 2 half salutations and then add our standing poses in. So Miss Eunice, I'm going to have you come to the top of the mat. I guess you could do it from where you are, but we'll have you move to the top of the mat anyway. So on an inhale, reach those arms out and up. You might have a little ceiling. Are you clear? Exhale. Go ahead and fold on in. Feel free to bend the knees, my friends, if that feels like it's better for your low back. Hands on the shins. Inhale, reach the chest forward, and you'll see how she flattens her upper back. That's really the objective of this pose, right? Exhale, go ahead and fold back in. And then let's leave our hands on our hips. It's a little safer for the low back. Elbows up, shoulders up, and go ahead and inhale, come all the way back up. And reach those arms back down on an exhale. Hello, Dooley. Inhale, reach those arms out and up. You get to travel with my cat. How awesome is that? Exhale, go ahead and fold forward. And arms go to the side or right through center like Miss Eunice. You take up a little less space that way. Inhale, hands on the shins, reaching that chest forward. So now we're gonna do another little outer hip stretch, a outer hip stretch. So go ahead and bend your knees until you can put your fingertips on the ground. And if I were at a chair, I might bring my fingertips to a chair. You're gonna cross your right shin in front of your left until you mirror image your toes. Yeah, and pick the heel up for just a second, Eunice. And then go ahead and once those toes are mirror image, start to drop the heel down. It may or may not make it to the earth. I don't care if it does, but you notice how you feeling in that outer hip, that outer like thigh. You feeling that?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that outer, that IT band it's called, and boy oh boy does that puppy get nice and tight, right? When we start to drop that heel down, we start to feel the outer left IT band. So check into that area. And again, notice I can be on a chair, so I'm a little higher if that feels safer or more secure for me. I might bend in just a little bit. Heels dropping down. Focus on the inner heels doing the dropping. Take one more breath. Soften the neck, the tongue, the jaw, the brow. And then go ahead and unwind the legs. And I like to just kind of toe heel my foot over for balance sake. And then again, fingertips on something for balance, right? Chair or the ground. Go ahead, knees are bent, and the left shin crosses in front of the right. And again, you can just kind of toe heel the foot over there for you. And then mirror image the toes first, and then once the toes, try that again, are mirror image, start to drop the left heel down towards the ground. Unfortunately, if you're standing, you don't get as much effect as if you are folded in. So, so try to fold yourself in as much as you can, even if your fingertips are on the chair. And then breathe, most definitely. Soften the neck. It loves to hold on in this posture. The hips and the neck, the hips and the jaw are completely connected. So it's a really interesting relationship to watch. And those inner heels pushing down even more. Take one more breath there, inhale. And this is the outer right thigh we're feeling. And exhale there. And then take your time, unwind the left foot, let that left foot come back over parallel to the right. From there, you're gonna put your hands on your hips, elbows up to the sky, and inhale, come on up with that flat spine. And go ahead and turn towards the camera, Miss Eunice. We're gonna go into some standing poses. So wherever you have space long-wise, you don't need much width-wise, right? You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna step your feet nice and wide, about 3.5 feet. It just depends on your height, how tall you are, and we'll get into that in a second too. Hands on the hips. We're gonna look at Warrior 2. So you're gonna turn your right toes all the way out, not right toes, let me say that better, Jiminy Christmas, Crystal Joy. Turn the whole right thigh out from the thigh bone until the toes, the knee, the thigh, everything face that other way, to the right, we'll say. And then the left toes, kick the left toes forward or kick the heel back. You can do either variation so that I have a back turnout on that foot, right? And we're gonna go into Warrior 2. So turn the chest towards what would be the long edge of your mat if you were working on, the long edge. If you were working on a mat, and if you're not, right, you're just reaching towards the side of the room. Tee the arms out. That said, your hands can stay on your hips the holding time. And then she starts to bend into this right knee. Now here's a couple of things. You want the knee to be over the ankle, right? You want the knee to be moving over the second toe, so it would love nothing more than to go this way, and she's keeping that nice and in line right now. And if you shift the weight out of the toes, she's not too bad. She doesn't have too many monkey toes right now, but a lot of us will go on the right toe, so put a little more in the heel, and I bet you can get that hamstring to turn on, and you can come a little deeper into that bend. And this is all about the hips, by the way. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but holy crap, you feeling those hips? Mm-hmm. And then from there, push that back outer heel down, the very back corner, and work that thigh, and we're probably feeling some really good stuff in this area of the body. Right? And then from there, that's enough of that. We're traveling, for goodness sake, right? With the hands on the hips. And you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna straighten the legs, but don't turn them back to the front. We're gonna keep them this way for triangle. Triangle is my other favorite standing pose, right? It is my favorite standing pose. Go ahead and from there, inhale the arms out wide. You can leave your hands on your hips if you prefer. And then imagine, if you will, that I have my right hand in your right hip crease. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna externally rotate that thigh or move the hip back and lengthen. She's gonna keep her right side body as long as she can, and then she'll go ahead and she'll bring that hand down. Most of you will get nowhere near your ankle. That is not the objective. The objective is to keep both sides of the body long. Eunice just happens to be able to do that going down lower, right? And pushing that back outer heel down like the Dickens again and working that thigh. And oh my goodness, we get some stuff going on in that side body. The fingertips reach up to the sky. If you want to play with the neck, you can turn to look up towards the fingertips. If that feels intense, look straight forward. The least intense is looking down towards the right ankle. Take one more breath wherever you are. And exhale there, and then imagine, if you will, that I was pushing your outer left heel down and grabbing your left wrist to pull you up. Go ahead and put your hands on your hips and turn your toes back towards what I'm going to call forward right now, the long edge of the mat, yeah? And then to go out to the other side, from the left hip, she turns that whole leg out, and then either kicks the right heel back or turns the toes forward, whichever works, right? And then the chest turns towards the long edge of the mat, your imaginary mat. And inhale, reach those arms out. Hands can stay on the hips if you prefer. Exhale, bend the left knee. So warrior two is our first pose, right? And again, I'm going to address this front leg first because it's the most important, or where we're usually misaligned and potential for a danger in the knee, right? So the ankle is right underneath the knee. The knee is going right over the second toe. We're taking a little bit of weight into the heel so that we can start to get this leg to turn on to support, and we can probably bend a little deeper in. Pushing that right outer heel down like the Dickens, right? And really rooting down. And then keeping that thigh turning on, and now we're starting to feel some stuff in this right hip. Oh, we're feeling all kinds of stuff, but this is the area I'm interested in stretching for you today. You can turn the head to look beyond the left fingertips, but that is not a necessity. And again, hands can stay on the hips if you're just feeling tuckered out. Take one more breath, inhale. And then like a starfish, right? The feet pushing down, the arms reaching out, the crown of the head reaching up. And then go ahead and put the hands on the hips and straighten the legs to move towards triangle. And by the way, I do this in the airport too. I would rather have my body feel good than care if people are looking at me. And more people are doing it. From there, right, that straight front leg, pulling that kneecap up or asking that quad to turn on. Inhale those arms out, hands can stay on the hips. Imagine my hand right at the top of your thigh, and I'm helping to rotate the thigh and move the hip just a little bit back. She keeps that beautiful length on the left side body and then places the fingertips down. Again, most of you will be a lot higher on the shin than Miss Eunice, but that's okay, right? Work where you're supposed to work. And then pushing the ball onto the left toe to get that left hip in the socket. Pushing that back right heel down to get that thigh to turn on. And then we're probably feeling a lot of stuff going on in this right side body. Her fingertips reach up to the sky. And don't let that arm go back, rather reach it straight up. You got it. You can turn the head to look up towards the right fingertips. If it feels intense, look straight forward. Looking down is the least intense in the body. And again, I want to point out how beautiful she's got length on both sides of her body right now. And her hip, her left hip is not pushing up behind her. It's in the socket. Muy, muy importante. Right, take one more breath, inhale. And exhale there, and then that right heel pushing down like I'm grabbing your right wrist. You inhale it up, and put the hands on the hips. Turn the toes forward. Least intense version, heels together, toes together. Little bit of activity, step it in. Lot of activity, jump it in. Your option, right? And then we're gonna move into tree pose. A lot of the poses that I'm doing, whether you've noticed or not, are grounding you down. I'm trying to get you into the earth a little bit, right? So this one's a really good one for grounding and balancing. When we travel, we might have a little bit of flighty or just kind of feeling lots of transition going on, we'll say, right? So feel your feet on the ground, and especially the right foot. Pick up the toes and spread the toes as wide as you possibly can and set them back down. And then hands on the hips so they have a home. Now, as you start to bend the left knee, I'm going to go in nice and slow. That's usually how I work, right? As that left knee starts to bend, she's going to be probably really good about it, but a little bit, right? Going into Jordache jeans, my teacher calls it. If you're young, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But the more you push the inner right foot down and really root down, the more that hip gets into the socket. Now keep that. Go ahead and let the knee move over to the left knee, over to the left without turning the hips out, right? So bend the knee and move that, pivot that left leg out. Yep, there you go. And then go ahead and bring that foot up. You can keep the toes on the earth with the foot on the ankle. Take the version you want to take for sure, right? So variations, I'll show the other ones. Miss Eunice is going into the fullest expression, right? I can keep toes on the ground, not a big deal. I can lift it up. I can put that foot anywhere but on my knee joint. No knee joints. She happens to be open, right? So some of us may have the knee a lot further forward to keep our hips neutral towards the front of the camera, and that's totally fine. But she's rooting through that inner right heel. I can see it. I'm watching it with my eyes to try to keep that right hip in the socket. Now you could drop your left hip down just a little bit, Miss Eunice, right? Oh, I took her balance away. So try not to let that left hip hike up. So the hip wants to go, wow, right? So we try to keep the left hip down, even the pelvis neutral, I'll say, right? Even as we lift that foot up. Pushing the foot and the leg together. that right thigh moving back, weight in the heel, and then you can leave your hands right here. You can bring your hands to your heart, or if you want to reach the arms out and up towards branches, reach towards branches, right? And go ahead and take one more breath from there, wherever you're working from. Inhale. Feel that ground under that foot. Exhale, slowly bring the hands down. Try to leave the leg up. We're going to leave that last. Take an inhale there. And then with the next exhale, that left foot can come down. Place it parallel to the right. And then look down and make sure that that's actually happening, right? We can help our proprioceptive sense develop. Hands to the hips. And I'll come in front of you so you see what I'm talking about, Miss Eunice. When we start to bend, spread the left toes nice and wide, right? And when you start to bend the knee, this would like to happen more than anything, right? So push that inner heel down and get that hip into the socket like crazy. And keep that. Now the right knee moves out, but don't let the hips go anywhere. Your hands are on your hips for a reason, right? They ensure that. And then bring that foot in, and I'm going to show the other variations. Miss Eunice is probably going to go for the fuller expression, right? And I'm going to keep the toes on the earth. I might bring up to my shin. I might come all the way up to my thigh, but I am not going to let my right hip hike, hopefully. I'm not going to let my right hip move back behind me. So keep rooting the left inner foot down. And pay attention to that for a second. Notice the intelligence. There is not one moment where you are completely still. That thing moves around like crazy trying to find your center of gravity, right? And if you're following, awesome. And then from there, you might push the foot and the leg together, right? Find that pelvis, a little bit of low belly, and then maybe the hands come up to the heart. Maybe they don't. Maybe the arms reach up into branches. Maybe they don't. And even on this side, Miss Eunice, try to drop that right hip down just a little bit. It's a little lifted compared to the left. Yep, nice. And go ahead and take one more breath. Inhale. And with the exhale, the hands will come back down, wherever you'd like to have them. Take one more inhale, feel the ground underneath the left foot, and then exhale, bring the right foot down. Try to find parallel and neutral, I'll call it, and then look down, and if your right foot's turning out to the right or step further forward than the left, just adjust it and just notice, and now feel what that feels like, right? We're adjusting our proprioceptive sense. And we have one more standing pose. So for that one, it's called Warrior One. So I'm going to have you face this way again, Miss Eunice, at the top of the mat. And I'll show a variation on the chair for some of my friends who doing a full Warrior One might be too much, or you just want the security of the chair, right? So hands on the hips, bend the knees, and step your left foot back about 3.5 feet, just depends on your body, right? But that left heel has got to make it all the way down to the earth. So if you need a shorter stance to do that, you do. And then let that inner left heel reach back. And I'll show this variation, right? That inner left heel really reaches way back. So the left inner groin reaches back so that the left hip wraps forward towards the front of the room, right? Or your front, wherever you are. And go ahead and bend that knee, that right knee if you can, but keep the outer left heel down. That's the dance. And then reach the arms out in front of you. Before you lift all the way up, pull the frontal hip points up, right? And then maybe you inhale and those arms lift up as if there was a connection pulling from the frontal hip point, and those biceps can come next to ear, and then reach from the frontal hip points through the pinkies. And for my friends who are like, oh, I don't know about doing that in an airport, gosh, you can do this version probably, right? And you can still do it with your hands on the back of a chair somewhere. Slide the shoulder blades down the back, and we're all pulling our frontal hip points up. It's funny, a lot of people will feel the left psoas, the front of the left hip. Today, I feel my left calf a little more because that's where my tightness resides. Go ahead and take one more breath. Inhale. And exhale there. Go ahead and bring the hands to the hips. Lean a little forward. Come onto the ball mounts of the left foot. Pull that belly in so that you can step that left foot forward and try to step it forward in one. But if you need a couple, not a big deal. And hands will come back to the hips. You'll bend the knees and step the right foot back. Again, about 3.5 feet. Just depends on your body. She's going to really reach that inner right heel back, that right thigh back, so that right hip can roll forward towards the front of the room. And then bending that left knee as much as you can, still maintaining that contact with the outer right heel. Pulling the frontal hip points up, and then go ahead and reach those arms out in front of you. shoulders and the socket shoulder blades down the back, and then with an inhale, you might reach those arms up. And again, I'd love you to think about there being a connection from the frontal hip point all the way through the pinky finger. And again, you can do this with that chair, right? And just have that chair in front of you, but really root that back right outer heel down. Everybody, pull the frontal hip points up, everybody, and breathe. Inhale. And exhale there. And hands come onto the hips. When you're ready, you'll go on the ball mounds of the right foot, and you'll try to step that right foot forward by using a little bit of your low abdominal region. And next, we're going to come onto the ground. And again, if you're not somewhere where you can go on the ground, I'll give you a variation in just a second. And I designed this one without props because I'm imagining most all y'all don't really have props. You can come all the way onto your back, Miss Eunice. We're going to do bridge pose or Setu Bandha. So the feet are on the ground, feet are parallel, hip distance. And then from there, go ahead and start to inhale. Lift the hips up, one vertebrae at a time. Interlace your hands or grab the outer edges of your mat or just have the arms a little wide, pinky fingers down. You'll see she rocked from side to side to try to get all the way onto the top of her shoulders, right? So that, imagine if you will, that I came in and I grabbed right in between your shoulder blades and I lifted you lightly and pulled those shoulders down and under, right? And then we came back down on top of those beautiful shoulders. The neck should not be looking around right now, so please don't look at the camera if it's off to the side. Keep that neck aligned. Push into the inner edge of the feet so the knees don't splay out and the inner groin turn on. And you're pushing down not just through your arms and your shoulders, but even through your pinky fingers. My friend's standing. You're standing, right? You've got your hands behind you interlaced, or grab a strap or a purse or whatever. And go ahead and push into the sacrum. The sacrum doesn't move, but the shoulders roll back. You might reach the knuckles down, and you'll notice I'm in a similar shape to Miss Eunice, and I'm getting my upper back here. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Everybody keep this space around the neck. Let's take one more breath, all of us. Inhale. And exhale. You can roll down if you're interlacing. Release the hands. My standing folks, maybe keep a little bit of that broadness if you created any. And I want to do that one more time. I'm going to take a breath for a second before we go in. And that way I can talk to my standing friends in a little sooner as well, right? So if you moved around, get those feet into position, right, for my friends on the ground. And when you're ready, you'll start to roll up the spine, either grabbing the outer edges of your mat, the arms a little wide, pinky fingers down, or interlacing your hands behind your back. Whatever variation feels good for you. Whatever variation gets you the biggest opening of the chest is what I should say, right? That's what you're looking for. Rocking from side to side. Friends standing, pushing into the sacrum. My sacrum does not move, but my shoulders move back. My shoulder blades move down my back, and I reach my knuckles down towards the ground. I might keep my elbows bent the whole darn time. And inhaling right between the shoulder blades, this one. And exhale, release the tongue and the jaw and the brow. And inhale this time on the front side of the chest. Open that up with a breath. And with your exhale, release the hands. My friends who are lifted into bridge, roll down one vertebrae at a time. And I'm going to do one more pose with you. And you have to, well, you don't have to. You can do this in an airport too if you're not afraid of the floor. But this is one of the best poses that you can do for traveling, because especially when we're flying or doing things, right, a lot of fluid goes down into our ankles and our feet swell. And so legs at the wall is one of your best friends, especially if you're flying when you travel, because it starts to release and drain all of that fluid out of your feet and your legs. So you would come on up, so go ahead and roll through the fetal position on the right-hand side. Push the floor away and come on up. And if you don't have a mat, you don't need to do this, but if you have a mat, you're going to change that mat. You're going to try and find a little bit of wall space where you can let your legs go up the wall. So then you still have your body on the rest of the mat. Now, the way I like to get into this is go ahead and bring your buttocks to the right side of the mat. Pardon me. And I'm going to kind of show this angle so that you guys can see a second angle of what I'm talking about. Imagine, if you will, that there was a wall right here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lift up onto my hands, and I'm going to get my butt against the wall in a little fetal position, a little fetal position. So she's going to slide her butt up against the wall, and the feet can go up to the wall. And then go ahead and roll onto your back. And hopefully you end up in the middle of your mat and you're close to the wall. If your hamstrings are tight, you're going to move a little bit further away, right? If they're okay, you can move towards the wall. You don't have to be touching the wall with the buttocks, but somewhere in that realm, right? Whatever feels comfy. And then go ahead and flex the feet, Miss Eunice. And as you flex the feet, right, keep the heels on the wall, and there's a little hook action that happens. And now you can soften the legs. And for most of us, that will help us so the knees don't buckle, right? And then from there, slide the shoulder blades down the back. Arms come out from the side, palms up, just like you would for Shavasana. And again, right now, the main objective, well, you're hopefully not doing much, and you're really releasing a lot here, but the main objective for the posture, the reason I have this in, is because you have all of this fluid that is started to accumulate down in your feet and your ankles, right? If you're walking a lot because you're on vacation or hiking, if you're flying, any of those things, they all do the same thing that way. So it might even help you to visualize that all the blood, water, lymph fluid, whatever it is that might be down there, right, that it's starting to drain and come out of the feet down into or towards the hips, where the body has a much better chance at processing that and getting new, fresh fluid and blood, oxygen, etc., right? Taking the waste out and sending new troops in, we'll call it. Just allowing yourself to soften. I'd like to stay here for about 6 more breaths. If that seems like, whew, you can come out of the pose, but I'm going to talk you through those breaths so that we divert the mind as well and have a place to focus it. So go ahead and inhale on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one together. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you wanted to stay here and you're really loving this posture, you know, I would say this on your trip, try to do this often if you can. And you can even hold it for 5 to 10 minutes if that is okay with you and your body. That said, I'll give the option to come out and we'll take a brief Shavasana together. So if you do want to come out, right, you bend the knees and bring the soles of the feet down the wall. Reach the right arm overhead. Roll over to your right, and you can pause there. You'll bring your left hand in front of the chest when you're away. The wall is at your buttocks, so you got to kind of contend with that a little bit, but you push the floor away. And then let's go ahead and lay the body out for Shavasana. If you're going to go forward and you're next to the wall, just remember you want to be far enough forward you don't hit your head when you roll down. And Shavasana is, right, either the legs extended out to straight, or the feet can be on the ground, feet a little wider than the hips, knees lean in. Everybody, shoulder blades down the back, arms out about 45 degrees. I'm not a big math person, so I think about a little air getting in my armpits. Palms are up, so the shoulders soften down. And start to scan through your body. If you have any muscles that are contracting right now, try to release and soften them. There's nothing that needs to hold on. The muscles that have to work are involuntary, right? We don't have to think about it, they'll take care of themselves. So let go of the breath, Let go of the muscular body. And again, I'm going to invite you to notice what parts of your body are literally in contact with the floor. It's not your whole back body, right? It's good portions or swaths of it. And just feel how gravity softens you down into the earth. Your body releases and relaxes and gets a little wider as it does onto the earth. As you move throughout your trip, whatever your trip may be, right, business, pleasure, you name it, do that for yourself. Anytime you think about it, you're standing somewhere, maybe close your eyes and just take a couple of breaths and feel the earth underneath you. If you're seated, whatever that is, and ground yourself. It may be the vacation of your life, but it's still a lot of transition and movement, and it behooves us to ground ourselves. If you are on vacation and you have time to stay here longer, feel free to do that. For all of my other friends, start to deepen the breath. And if it feels nice to wiggle fingers and toes, wiggle fingers and toes. If you're at the wall still with your legs up the wall, you'll bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet onto the wall and the knees towards the chest. My friends on the back in traditional Shavasana, feet on the ground with the knees bent when you're ready. And you'll roll over to the right. Everybody, right arm may or may not come overhead, depends on the wall situation and your shoulder. Pause, take a breath, inhale. Feel that ground. Exhale, use that ground. Push away with the left hand, coming on up to a seated position. And again, you can do this in a chair or you can do this on the ground, whatever works for you. But sit up tall, right? Don't use the back of the chair. If you're on a chair, sit on the edge so that you actually have to use the muscles alongside the spine. Pulling that low back in just a little bit, pulling the low belly just very lightly, and not even in so much as up. Lengthening through the crown of the head, palms up or palms down on the thighs. And just check in, notice. And is it any different than when we sat here, about 20 minutes or so ago? Bring your palms together at your chest and take a big ol' inhale. Keep that chest lifted, exhale, bow your head. A moment of gratitude that you are able to travel and you are where you are, but also that you took the time while traveling, not an easy feat, to do this, to give yourself this practice. Honoring the light that shines within. Namaste. And namaste, Ms. Eunice, thank you for helping us out. And may you have a wonderful journey wherever you are and whatever you are doing. And hopefully that low back and sacrum and hip area feels a little bit more open for you. Happy travels.